Welcome children. Now after a long summer break we are again going to start our studies, and this time children we are going to have it timetable wise. The timetable is being sent to you, and during that time you will be shown this video, and after seeing this video children, whatever problems or whatever queries you will have, you will be asking in that allotted time only, and I'll try to solve out that problem. So children, today in chemistry we are going to start chapter 6. We already have done chapter 1 to 4. Fifth chapter children will do after this, because it is a numerical chapter, and after completing this chapter we'll continue with that chapter. Now children, in electrolysis the scope of the syllabus is given over here in the book, and you can consult any book which you have at present. You can go through it, but I will be teaching you according to this book only. And children, in electrolysis, that is chapter 6, will study the introduction part. This chapter deals with the process called electrolysis, which establishes a relationship between electrical energy and chemical energy. The word electrolysis is made up of two words: electro, meaning flow of electrons or electricity, and lysis, meaning separating. So bringing about a chemical change in a substance by the passage of electricity is called electrolysis. So children, many substances allow electricity to pass through them and many do not allow. And it has also been found that all substances allow passage of electricity do not undergo a chemical change. So most metallic elements like copper, aluminum, iron, and all alloys, whether in solid state or in molten state, allow an electric current to pass through them without undergoing any chemical change. Non-metal except graphite like sulfur, phosphorus do not conduct electricity. Therefore, metals and alloys are called conductors, and non-metals are called non-conductors or insulators of electricity. Children, the conduction of a current by a conductor due to the flow of electron, and insulators do not possess mobile electron. So chemical compounds behave differently when an electric current is passed through them. Some compounds conduct electric current in aqueous state. Aqueous state children mean a compound dissolved in water, or in molten state. And children, molten state means a liquid state of a particular compound. So molten state, but not in solid state, and are decomposed by the passage of electric current. For example, the passage of electric current through copper chloride solution decomposes it to metallic copper and chlorine. Such chemical compounds which conduct electric current in molten or in aqueous state are called electrolytes, and some compounds do not conduct electric current at all, whether in solid state or in aqueous state. They are called non-electrolytes, and the example of this is children sugar. And so we know children that there are some conductors and some non-conductors. So chemical decomposition of a chemical compound can be brought about by using electric current. Such a chemical process is called electrolysis. So here is the definition of electrolysis. It is the chemical decomposition of a chemical compound which is brought about by using electric current, and this is called as electrolysis. Now difference between metallic conductor and electrolytic conductor. So children, many metals conduct electricity like copper wire, aluminum, and some electrolytes also conduct. So there is a difference. In metallic conductors, flow of current consists of single stream of electrons, that is flowing from the negative pole to the positive pole. And in electrolytic conduction, flow of current contains two streams, one of positive cations flowing towards the negative cathode, and the other the negative anion flowing towards the positive anode. So children, in metals like copper, conduction is done through electrons, and in electrolyte it is done through ions. Then metallic conductivity is the property of metals and alloys, and electrolytic conductivity is the property of electrovalent compounds. Then children, metals both in solid and in liquid state are good conductors of electricity, and electrolytes are good conductors only in aqueous solution or in their molten state. Then in metals, no change of form or in composition occur during conduction of electricity. This is only a physical change. You can see only a wire gets heated up, but there is no chemical reaction which is taking place. But in electrolytic conduction, new products are formed at the electrodes, and this involves a chemical change. Now children will come to some definitions, some important definitions. First is electrolysis, which is this chapter we are talking about. So electrolysis is a process of decomposition of a chemical compound in aqueous solution or in molten state accomplished by a chemical change by using direct electric current. So children, in electrolysis we use the DC current, and electrolytes are the compounds which either in aqueous solution or in molten state allow electric current to pass through them. And electrolytes are molten salts, solution of salts in water, or solution of acids and alkalis. Examples of electrolytes are, children, in acids we can say sulfuric acid, nitric acid, phosphoric acid, hydrochloric acid. Bases or in alkalis we can say sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. And in salts we can take the examples as sodium chloride, copper sulfate, lead bromide. And electrolyte, children, are of two types based on their conductivity and ability to dissociate into ion. So they can be called as strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. And non-electrolyte, children, are those compounds which do not allow, it is a compound which neither in solution nor in molten state allow an electric current to pass through it. So if the electric current do not pass in a compound which is either in aqueous state or in molten state, then it is called as a non-electrolyte. And children, if it is a electrolyte, then also it is a strong electrolyte and it is a weak electrolyte, which we are going to see here. It does not decompose at the electrode. This we are talking about the non-electrolyte. So non-electrolytes do not have ions even in solution, they contain only molecules. This is very important, children. So non-electrolyte contains molecules and electrolyte contains ions, and weak electrolyte contains both ions and molecules. Now we come to the example of non-electrolyte like distilled water, alcohol, kerosene, carbon disulfide, cane sugar, benzene, glucose, urea. These all are the examples of non-electrolyte, children. These non-electrolyte, they do not conduct electricity at all. Now the difference between strong and weak electrolyte, this is a chart, children, we are going to study. A strong electrolyte, electrolytes which allow large amount of electricity to flow through them are called strong electrolytes, and electrolytes which allow small amount of electricity to flow through them, they are called as weak electrolytes. Then strong electrolytes are good conductors of electricity and weak electrolytes are poor conductors of electricity. Then third point, children, these are almost completely dissociated in fused or in aqueous solution state, and these are partially dissociated in fused or in aqueous solution state. Dissociation means, children, when the compound breaks up into separate ions, that is dissociation. Now these solution contains almost free mobile ions, and in weak electrolyte these contains ions as well as molecules. So strong electrolytes only contain ions and weak electrolytes contain ions as well as molecules, and children, ions are responsible for the conduction of electricity. Then fifth point, children, strong electrolytes allow the bulb to glow brightly. When we connect it through an electrolytic cell, we'll see it later very soon. The bulb which we attach to this electrolytic cell or this apparatus, the bulb glows brightly in strong electrolyte, and weak electrolyte allow bulb to glow dimly. And examples, strong electrolytes examples are acids, hydrogen chloride, that is hydrochloric acid, then sulfuric acid, nitric acid. In bases, NaOH, KOH, and in salts, NaCl, that is sodium chloride, lead bromide, copper chloride. These all are examples of strong electrolytes. And for weak electrolytes, and acids, carbonic acid, acetic acid, oxalic acid. Bases, ammonium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, and in salts, ammonium carbonate and lead acetate. So children, here we have studied about strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Now children, next topic is acid, bases and salts as electrolytes. Acids and alkalis. Acid and alkalis ionize when dissolved in water, whereas bases and salt dissociates in fused or in molten state or in aqueous solution into free mobile ions. They can be classified as strong or weak electrolytes depending upon the degree of dissociation. Examples are given below. And children, degree of dissociation we already have studied in the chapter acid, bases and salts. So they can be classified as strong or weak electrolytes depending on the degree of dissociation. Examples are: all salts are strong electrolytes. They form acidic or basic or neutral solutions after complete dissociation. Some salts which are generally more volatile than strong salts, and the salts which do not dissociate completely can be considered as weak electrolytes as compared to strong electrolytic salts like mercuric chloride and ammonium carbonate. So children, here we are talking about the electrolytes. Now we come to the next topic, that is examples of ionizable electrolytic dissociation of acid, bases and salts. In acid, children, strong electrolytes are hydrochloric acid as it dissociates into hydrogen ion and chloride ion. Nitric acid dissociates into hydrogen ion and nitrate ion. Sulfuric acid dissociates into hydrogen ion and sulfate ions. And then in weak electrolytes, which is acetic acid and which is in acetic acid and formic acid. So children, this is, here we are talking about acetic acid, that is CH3COOH. It dissociate into acetate ion and hydrogen ion. Formic acid dissociate into SCO ion and hydrogen ion. Then children, when we are talking about these bases, in bases strong electrolytes are potassium hydroxide KOH, which dissociates into potassium ion and hydroxide ion. Then NaOH dissociates into positive Na ion and hydroxide ion. Then lithium hydroxide dissociates into lithium ion and hydroxide ion. Weak electrolytes are ammonium hydroxide, which dissociate into ammonium ion and hydroxide ion. Then calcium hydroxide, which dissociate into calcium ion and hydroxide ion. Then we talk about these salts, children. Salts, and the strong salts are lead bromide. Lead bromide PbBr2 dissociates into Pb plus 2 ion and bromide ion. Copper chloride into copper and chloride ion. Silver nitrate into silver ion and nitrate ion. Then weak electrolytes are ammonium carbonate and ammonium carbonate dissociate into ammonium ion and carbonate ion, and lead acetate dissociate into acetate ion and lead ion. Now children, we come to the next topic, that is electrolytic cell or voltameter. Now children, the container in which we are going to do our electrolysis or all these chemical reactions, electrochemical reaction, the container is called the electrolytic cell. As you can see here in this example, children, if you see in this example, this is the electrolytic cell. So it is also called as voltameter. So a non-conducting vessel containing two electrodes, these rods which are contained in this cell as cation and anions are called electrode, immersed in a solution of electrolytes used to bring about a chemical reaction. So electrolytic cell requires an outside source of electricity, DC source, to initiate the movement of ions between two electrodes where a chemical change takes place. It converts electrical energy into chemical energy. So children, you can see here that electrolytic cell or voltameter is that cell in which all the reactions are going to take place. Then electrochemical cell, it is a device used to convert chemical energy into electrical energy. For example, simple voltaic cell, Daniell cell, etc. These are electrochemical cells. Then children, when we talk about electrodes, Electrode, children, are these two rods which we can see over here, children. This is one rod which we can see, and this is one rod, this is one rod, and this is the other rod. These are cathode and anode, these are the electrode. So two metal plates or wires or graphite rods or gas carbon rods and or on any other metal rods immersed in electrolyte through which the current enters and leaves the electrolytic cell are called electrodes. So children, all the chemical reaction takes place at the surface of the electrode. When we talk about anode, the electrode connected to the positive terminal of the battery is called anode. So anode is positively charged. So it is an electrode which is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. Then we have cathode. The cathode is the electrode connected to the negative terminal of the battery, and it is called as cathode. Note, when the electric current is turned on, the cathode becomes the negative electrode by which electrons enter the electrolyte, and the anode becomes the positive electrode by which the electrons leave the electrolyte. So the electrode, which electrode is so children, there is a very easy way to remember. Anode, as it starts from A, we can say A is add and add is positive sign. So by add we can come to a conclusion that anode is positive electrode, the anode positive, hence the cathode will be the negative. So anion, that is negative ions, will go to anode and cations will go to cathode. So by this we can remember that anions A will go to anode A, and cations, that is C, will go to cathode, that is C. So A to A and C to C. This is very easy way, children, to remember. So we can remember it by just memorizing it through this way. Now children, difference between anode and cathode. So anode, it is an electrode connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and cathode is an electrode connected to the negative terminal of the battery. And anions migrate, anions means negative ions migrate to anode, and cation, that is positive ion, migrates to cathode. And anode, it is an oxidizing electrode, and oxidation takes place as anode is a electron acceptor, and cathode is a reducing electrode, and reduction takes place at cathode as cathode is a electron donor. Now ions, children, ion is we know about ions that it is the atom or group of atoms which carry a positive or a negative charge. We call them as ions. Now children, when we talk about ions, so children, ions means the atoms or group of atoms which carry a positive or a negative charge. So atoms which carry a positive charge are called cations, and atoms which carry a negative charge are called anions. The charge on an ion, positive or negative, is equal to the valency of the atom of or the ion. So children, difference between cations and anions are: cations are positively charged ions and anions are negatively charged ions. Cations migrate to cathode during electrolysis, and anions migrate to anode during electrolysis. And cations gain electrons from cathode to get reduced to become a neutral atom, and anions lose electron to the anode and get oxidized to become a neutral atom. For example, sodium ion, calcium ion, aluminum ion, they will go to cation, they will gain electrons and they will become neutral atom. In the same way, children, phosphate ion, chloride ion, sulfate ion, hydroxide ion, or any other anion, they which are negatively charged will go to anode and they are going to lose their electron to become neutral. So children, this is first part of the chapter of this topic. We'll continue with oxidation in the next video, which we'll study tomorrow.